Hello. Welcome to Nathan on Sports. My name is Nathan Kwan. With me, as always, and on the phone this week is Nathan Simmons. So let's first start off by talking about the NBA.
What are your thoughts on the series? I guess it's just two blowouts. It's been really horrible to watch. Boston, I think it's just in their head that they can't beat LeBron. Like, you don't go down 41 points at home without it not being like a mental thing. I mean, granted, you can say that Cleveland's the favorite and we're the underdog and we have to play at our best to have a chance, but you can't think that way if you're in the thick of it, because once it's in your head, it's done. They were missing so many wide open threes in game 2.
Yeah, no, I just think that they're just happy to sort of be there at this point. Despite the fact that, granted, obviously, losing Isaiah Thomas, really has knocked out any chance that they have of winning a game. But, even before that, they just looked defeated. The Celtics just looked, completely gassed and just, or not gassed, but just, resigned to just, coming up short at pretty much the moment tip-off happened in game 1. It's just really, there's really not much to say about it outside of just, it looks like people are just sort of resigned to LeBron going to his 7th finals in a row, I think. The big story is the Western Conference, because, the Spurs really had a chance. I was watching that game and I left when they were up by 25 points because I was just wow, they've really brought it to them, and I pretty much missed the entire most of the comeback until the final, and I missed the injury to Kawhi. I think the interesting question is whether or not Kawhi, obviously playoffs can't factor into the voting race, but if you could vote again, would you vote Kawhi over Harden for MVP?
At this point, I might vote Westbrook, to be totally honest.
No, you can't. I understand being down on Harden, but Westbrook. Let's at least we can both unite in our mutual disdain for Westbrook and his overhypedness. Even though, granted, he did get the average triple double for a season. That's impressive, but I'm just saying, it was. It's not to me. It's still not as impressive as what Harden was able to do. But at this point, if you could vote again, I'd give my vote to Kawhi. You just see how important he was to that team, and just how and you already know the stats too. So
yeah, also LeBron. What he's been doing, 35 points every night it seems. Granted, the MVP is a regular season award, and he sat out about 15 to 20 games in the regular season. So
it felt like a third, you know.
Yeah, but it's just a lack of parity in the NBA. The Cavaliers can basically blow off the entire regular season. They didn't care about playing defense or resting players or any of that. And then when he gets come to the playoffs, they just completely turned it on, and the rest of the East was just completely overmatched. And then in the West with the Warriors, it's just talent-wise, it's just a big gulf. And especially when Kawhi went out, the Spurs just have been overwhelmed.
It just feels like they've really lucked out. It feels like the Warriors really lucked out this playoffs, because if they had to face the same opponents that the Spurs had to, I don't even know if they make it. They might be tied 2-2 in the Western Conference. I still think based on talent alone, they probably still make it out, but it would become very questionable. And if injuries hadn't happened the way that they did, especially for the Spurs, if the Spurs had still had obviously Kawhi, but even Tony Parker again, they have Patty Mills, who's pretty much taken over the starting point guard position even when Tony was still healthy enough. Having someone like Tony and having that experience, you see Manu Ginobili still carrying this team despite the fact that he's pretty much mid-30s. With the experience that they have, and obviously the having Popovich on your bench helps so much. And I think that's also another thing too, is that it kind of does show the value of definitely does reinforce the fact that Steve Kerr is still should be considered one of the best coaches in the NBA. Is just the drop down between him and Mike Brown, right? And so it's just Like they go from like surefire winners to like, I mean, really just sort of like really relying completely on the talent that they have. Like they should be blowing out people every game, but like they're still playing close just because like they're really missing a key component, which is like the strategy of Steve Kerr.
Yeah, I don't think even with Kawhi and Tony Parker that I mean, obviously, I don't think they would get swept like they're probably going to be now, but I think it's still they win 1-2 games at most. It's just the way that Golden State is shooting the ball, and we talked about how the Spurs are one of the top defensive teams. It's just not even close the way they're shooting the ball and moving it around, and the Spurs just look old, and a lot of that is just the talent, the athleticism, and lack of parity is so frustrating because basically what has happened is the regular season and all the postseason doesn't matter. You can just fast forward from the point Kevin Durant signed that deal with the Warriors to this upcoming June. It's just nothing has mattered.
Yeah, like really just nothing's changed. It's just like really frustrating. Like honestly, as a basketball fan, this was what I was like worried about, was just like how like it was just going to become like just another saga in like the Warriors Cavs like a final rivalry, and like it's happened exactly what it was, and it's so annoying, and it just like, as much as I still love Kevin Durant because like, hey, he's a UT alum and he's still like a great guy, like he comes across as a great guy. I mean, like what he did was such a weak move on his part, and it's just like it kills so many like alternate stories too, because like one of the more interesting stories, like had he stayed at OKC, is just like, hey, can he finally get over the hump of like beating the Warriors, because like they very easily could have beaten the Warriors last year, and maybe like he was like dissuaded due to the Serge Ibaka trade. But I mean, even still, like as much as good as Serge Ibaka has proven himself, like yeah, he can't carry a team, but like he's a very vital role player. I mean, he's very consistent too, considering like he was the most consistent player on that Raptors team that like basically like their two best players essentially took games off, like not maybe took games off, but like disappeared multiple games in the playoffs. You know, I mean, that would have been an interesting storyline going forward, but that got killed because Durant was like, you know what, I want to like guarantee myself a ring, and it's just, I mean, that's not why people hold up winning a ring as so important to a basketball player's legacy. The reason they do that is because of like stories like Dirk, where he basically like powers through it and finally just sort of like has this like hero's journey and finally reaches the top. Like there's no real hero's journey here with Kevin Durant. As much as and granted, this is all still like sports. This is all basketball. You know, this is, you know, at the end of the day, like, I mean, like, there's a lot else going on in the world, but I mean, like, that's what like frustrates me as like a basketball fan. It's just the lack of just of interesting stories and entertainment. But I will say this, I mean, hopefully this draft, which is considered the deepest since 2003, should like really help juice in some talent to some of the lower teams. I mean, obviously it's going to be interesting to see whether or not like Philadelphia finally starts to try to compete instead of tanking. I mean, at this point, like they have the talent to like compete for a playoff spot. I mean, it's just like whether or not they want to commit to it and whether or not they can stay healthy enough. But that, and also, I mean, Boston, maybe they finally get like that one extra piece to put next to Isaiah Thomas, and that puts them over the hump. I mean, they're still a very deep team. Like again, they need to wake up mentally and just go like, hey, like yeah, like what I miss the most is like Fizdale, because like he was like, that Memphis team had no business like being as competitive as they were, but like he was one of the few people I felt that was just like, no, you know what, we're not gonna like bow down to like people that are like to teams that are like clearly more talented than us. Like we're gonna like take it to them and like actually like stick up for ourselves, you know. But that didn't happen, and that's just real frustrating.
Yeah, and I mean, let's not also discount the fact that the NBA cap going up the past year and also this upcoming year, it allowed Kevin Durant to sign that max deal, and like the Warriors were able to keep a lot more of their pieces, their core pieces, like the Andre Iguodala's, the Sean Livingstons of the world. And if that cap increase hadn't happened, then it would have been a lot tougher on them because they just lost Andrew Bogut and their Festus Ezeli, Harrison Barnes, and those are some core pieces from last year. But I think we can all agree that they've definitely replaced them with guys that can fill in the roles that those guys had. Yeah.
You would definitely make that trade for Kevin Durant. Like if you only had to give up like Harrison Barnes, Andrew Bogut, and Festus Ezeli, you pull that trigger right away. You know. But it's just I mean it's kind of like it's a rich man's game at this point. You know, we'll see if at least like if someone like the Bucks are a real interesting team going into next year. I mean, it's just again like if they can keep Jabari Parker healthy and if he can finally start living up to the potential he was drafted with, because he was supposed to be. I mean, he was drafted second overall for a reason. And he was supposed to be on the same level as Andrew Wiggins. And speaking of which, like the Minnesota Timberwolves, like I mean, they got to start like showing some. They have great players at pretty much every starting position. I mean, and they have a top 10 pick this year, so they should be able to fill in someone at the power forward position this year. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with Ricky Rubio. Clearly, Chris Dunn's not ready, and it's going to be questionable going forward whether or not he's going to be ready enough. I mean, like to be on that team, like all any point guard has to do on that team is just pass it to Cat or Wiggins or Zach LaVine, and then just let them take care of the rest. But it's even questionable if he's going to be able to do that. I mean, he's already a top perimeter defender, so they have some value with him, but it's just going to be a big question going forward. I mean, maybe they draft one of the point guards this year and then trade away Ricky Rubio for a veteran point guard, power forward presence, or maybe they go out and try signing someone like Serge Ibaka, which I mean is going to make it very hard for them in the future to sign all of LaVine and Wiggins and Cat, even with like the salary cap increases, especially since like it's supposed to like stop and like plateau after this year, I believe. I mean, again, it depends. I mean, like it's still a growing game. It's still at this point still a growing game, which is insane. But I mean, like we're kind of reaching. We're beginning to reach like some cracking points, and like Adam Silver's really got to figure out ways to like reinforce parity in this league, because like this, I don't see how this model goes forward with being able to support all 32 teams. Like they really need to start like spreading out the talent again. Because it's just getting absurd.
Yeah, the level of competition in these NBA playoffs, like I can't tell you how many games that midway through the second quarter, you're like, this game's over. It's a 30-point, not even like, you would think like a blowout would be like 15, 20 points, like, oh, some team's up big. But these are like historic leads. 72-31 at halftime. It's like a professional team against JV in high school. That's hard to do.
Yeah, it's just killing any suspense. And it's just like, it's not fun. It's not fun. So, I mean, like, that's what Adam Silver has to do, is just like, I mean, he's got to reinforce a real salary cap going forward. Make some of these teams, like, have to actually, like, pay out the wazoo and, like, really make sure that they start focusing on, like, actually putting together a team instead of just collecting as many good players as possible. Like, that's just really it at this point. Mavs, I mean, it was a busy week in sports, admittedly. I mean, obviously, the Mavs, they got the 9th overall pick, but I mean, the big news obviously is like, Lakers keeping their pick, and as well as like Philly, moving up 2 spots, and getting 2 picks, I believe, right?
Yeah, it was the Lakers moving up from number 3 to number 2, so they're going to have to deal with LeVar Ball and Lonzo probably, and then Phoenix dropped out. They were supposed to be 2nd. They went to 4th. And I think Philly got something with Sacramento where they traded picks.
Switched spots.
Yeah.
They switched spots, but then they also had that a 2nd pick, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay, the Lakers would have lost their pick had they dropped out of the top 3, and that would have gone to the 76ers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they got lucky. They got real lucky on that one. And it worked out for Philly. It worked out a lot for Sacramento because they also moved up 2 spots. I mean, they would have had the 3rd overall had they not had that trade clause. But, I mean, they still got the 5th overall, so that's pretty good.
So let's move on and talk about baseball. The Texas Rangers just finished up a 10-game winning streak and were the hottest team in the majors.
They got over 500, and I mean they beat up on a lot of bad teams. So they started the winning streak against the Padres. Then they played Oakland. They swept the Phillies, and they beat Detroit, which is a mediocre team. So they've definitely turned it around. I think offensively they're just putting up big numbers there with Rougned Odor, Lucroy, Shin-Soo Choo, Nomar Mazara, and Mike Napoli as well.
Yeah, no, that's been nice to see. Like before they lost last night, like they would have been in they would have taken a playoff spot. I think they technically fell a bit out now, but I mean like they're only like out a half game. And granted, like yeah, it's still early in the season, but I mean like they really needed this win streak. Like it came at the right time to put them back in contention. Now I would definitely not like I think they're going to be buyers at the deadline if they're able to at least like get back and like maybe pull off and not necessarily another 10 game win streak, but like maybe like pull off some like 5-4s, like throw them in. Yeah, you can lose like 2 times in a row, but like you can't have sustained like losing streaks. I mean, if they do that, then they should be in contention, like solid enough contention to like say like, hey, we're in a pretty good space to get the wild card spot. We just have to make sure that we are staying consistent for the rest of the year. I mean, it's going to be real interesting to see what goes on. I mean, like obviously, like they're just waiting to get back Adrian Beltre, and Cole Hamels would be nice to have, but like at least like you have some surprise performances from people in the back end. Like I know Nick Martinez, like yeah, he's not exactly going deep into games, but he's giving you some solid five innings pitched. AJ Griffin was doing pretty decently well up until like last night, but I mean, like that was to be expected. I mean, that's exactly what happened last year too. Like he had 2 great months and then he got like injured, along with Colby, and like once he came back, he wasn't really much of anything. I mean, he's someone that's going to be kind of like a hot starter, but then kind of slows down as it goes on, just because I think he's someone that's always struggled a bit with injuries and just like staying healthy and keeping up that stamina. But I mean, like what he's been able to do has been real nice. I mean, Andrew Cashner's been a nice surprise. I mean, like yeah, his strikeout to walk ratio is terrible, but I mean he's getting the job done. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch any games this past week, so I could give more of a report there. But at this point, like if maybe the Rangers could pull off some trade to maybe help reinforce the bullpen, but even then, like that just feels like it feels like that. Like with the amount of prospects they've already sold off, like it might just be better just to hope that like you can bring up maybe someone from the farm, some more people from the farm, and get some success out of them. I mean, like you already saw that with Jose Leclerc, and they've been able to develop someone in like Alex Claudio who can kind of do it all. Like he's someone that like going into like when he first came up, you thought he was just going to be like a Louis, but like then he's like the long person. Then he's someone that you put in to set up he's someone in the 8th to set up the closer, and then he's someone that can also like put out fires. So that's been he's been a nice surprise. I mean, obviously you have the bad surprises of Sam Dyson just completely like losing his form. Jake Dykeman, he's losing half a year, and like even then prior to that he was kind of becoming a bit wild in terms of his control of pitches. But I mean, we'll see if he can get back straight. I mean, like, he'd be a nice addition mid-season if he can like sort of like refine that form that he had when he first came over to the Rangers in the Cole Hamels trade.
Yeah, I mean the good thing recently is they've gotten off the big leads, like 5 or 6 run leads, and the bullpen. I mean to hold that is certainly a lot easier than to hold like a 1 or 2 run lead, and they've been able to do that.
Yeah, Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like last year, beginning of last year too, when like they would get all these like big leads, and then just like they had really no one to bridge to the closer, which at the time was Sam Dyson. So they would give up a few runs, in between, and so they would have to bring in Sam Dyson to close in games that like they might have had like a 4-run lead, but like if they put in anyone else, then it would have been blown. And maybe that's one of the reasons why Sam Dyson is doing so bad this year, is that he just might be tired because of like carryover from last year. I mean, like he was so overused last year that it was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and that's sort of the thing with the bullpen too, is just like, it's still like a volatile commodity. You're not always going to get what you want, but, if they can find some consistency going forward, and just like, I mean, they got to find ways to win one run games. I mean, they can't rely on like outscoring the other team while their starter's in, and then like once he's out, like then just hoping they can hold on to it. Like they got to find ways to win 1-run games when like offense is hard to come by. I mean, especially if they want to win the World Series this year, which I mean this team, like this might be the last chance that they have at it, because I don't see them being able to bring back Jonathan Lucroy and Yu Darvish at the same time, if they can bring back either of them at all. So I mean, it's going to be real interesting going forward. I mean, I personally hope that they bring back Yu Darvish. I mean, I think he likes it here. Likes it in Texas, and not in Houston. So hopefully we can keep him.
Well, no, I given how well he's pitched against, I think he almost has two almost no hitters. I think he would enjoy, but I mean, I think bigger picture this year, it's still early. I mean, we're just past the quarter pole of the season, but it looks like there's a lot of mediocre teams in the American League. So you have, as playoff contenders, the 3 teams in the East with Baltimore, the Yankees, and the Red Sox. The Red Sox are only at 500, but you would think that they would pick it up. I mean, Chris Sale has been unbelievable for them.
That they have on that team, like it's only a matter of time before they start reeling off win after win after win. I mean, the Yankees have been kind of a nice surprise, if you can call anything out of the Yankees nice. I mean, obviously Aaron Judge giving all that power has been amazing. But I mean, also the rest of the team is. I mean, the team is young, and this could be the beginning of a dynasty, another dynasty for the Yankees. You hope not, but it is what it is. Baltimore, I mean, Baltimore is always going to be Baltimore. I mean, it's just like they have a ton of like power in that lineup. I mean, I think Zach Britton went down, right?
Yeah, he's on the DL, but I actually think that we talked about them briefly a couple of weeks ago, but like their pitching has actually been pretty good. I think they're top 5 in the American League in starters ERA, and so that's actually held up nicely for them, which was one of their biggest weakness.
Yeah, like Dylan Bundy's finally turned things around and like living up to his draft prestige. I know I believe he was first or second overall in 2010, 2011. I can't remember, but like I mean they've invested so many high draft picks in starting pitching. It's sort of finally turning around, and it's like they've always had a pretty strong bullpen in all fairness too. So I mean like they could be a real dangerous team. I mean again like getting the wild card this year is going to be real tough. I mean, and really the only way I see them getting the AL West, the Rangers getting the AL West, is if like the Astros have like start collapsing and the Rangers stay like on a winning pace. But I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, we can talk about that in a bit.
I mean, other than that, like as you said, the Rangers, I think their 2 biggest competitors are the 2 teams in the AL East. The Central just looks mediocre to all around. Minnesota has the lead right now, but you would think Cleveland would take that division. And I mean,
it's such a big surprise with Minnesota because they obviously they've had one of the best like prospect systems in MLB for a while, but it's just like and they've been sort of waiting for them to start producing, and it seems to finally like they kind of have it, but I just don't see like that lead like sustaining. Like it kind of reminds me a bit of like the 2009 Rangers, where it was just like like they were kind of pushing through and they started off real hot, but then they sort of like died off at the end because they just didn't have enough experienced talent to like sort of like guide them through and keep things like sort of sane and normal. But yeah, you have to think that Cleveland turns it around. I mean, like they still have their starting rotation is still great. I think maybe the big problem might be just like some bullpen problems and like inconsistency with the lineup beyond Edwin Encarnacion. And Francisco Lindor, I guess. But yeah, no, I mean, I suspect Cleveland to overtake whoever soon. I mean, the Royals. I mean, they're like it's super like I wouldn't say it's super sad, but it's just sort of like it sort of just shows like how incredible like having runs of like what the Rangers had, where they basically have had winning seasons except for like 2014 over the past like 7, 8 years. You know, like I mean, like it's hard to sustain that success, and like you see, especially with small market teams, and like you see that specifically with the Kansas City Royals. Like they went to back-to-back World Series, won the second one, and once they did that, they just like they weren't able to afford some of the talent on the rotation. I mean, obviously, like losing Giordano Ventura forever, like that's sad, tragic, and just on the human scale. But yeah, I mean that's a big blow to the organization as well. But yeah, no, I mean, really, obviously, the best team right now in the AL is the Houston Astros. Absolutely, 100%, I agree with that. I mean, yeah, Dallas Keuchel just went out. It's supposed to not be for too long, just maybe only one start. So you get a spot start for a cup of coffee for a starting pitcher prospect in the minors. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens from then on out. I mean, like they're in their last 10 games, they're 7-3. And so, I mean, like there's still, I mean, this is pretty much within the talent range of what the Astros can. I think this is sustainable, like not only for this year, but going forward. I think this is finally the year that the Astros break through, and take it. And I think that's beginning to show. I mean, the big question I think is really just like, again, I mean, their bullpen is not as bad as the Rangers, but I mean, like you still like you still have problems with like Ken Giles, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, that was not maybe the best trade of all time, but it happened. I mean, at least you got something for him versus like us just letting Odubel Herrera go and become like one of the best up and coming center fielders in the league. But that's another thing too, that happens. I mean, we got Shields that year too, and the Rule 5 anyway. But yeah, no, I mean, the Astros really I mean, as long as they stay relatively healthy and they don't have any like long periods of loss, like I mean, again, I don't think Dallas Keuchel is gonna be out for too long. Yeah, I mean, just really the big thing for them is just trying to stay healthy, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously 700 baseball is not sustainable, which is what they had through the first 41 games. And I just can't believe 2013, the year that they finished 51-111, was 4 years ago. And to watch this team now is just crazy. And just like the offense is just up and down the lineup. It's before in years past, Jose Altuve, George Springer would hit some home runs, and Carlos Correa, and that would be about it. I mean, Evan Gattis was not the player that he has been this year. You didn't get that type of production in the outfield, especially with Josh Reddick and Carlos Beltran. Nori Aoki's been contributing. Jake Marisnick as well, who hit 2 home runs off the sculpture in Miami this past week. Like his offense has always been what's prevented him from being an everyday player, and he's definitely picked up his offense this year. And I think it's just the team feeds off of each other. Yuli Gurriel, who was a little bit disappointing last year, he's been great for them. So up and down the lineup, Brian McCann has been contributing. So I mean, it's just staying healthy. And starting pitching wise, the back end has just been pretty bad. With Mike Fiers, he leads the league in home runs given up. So I think they're probably going to get a starter at some point. This past week, Garrett Cole from the Pirates was floated out there as a possibility.
Wow, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to obviously give up a lot to get him, but I think...
Give up, like, a lot of the farm, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm kind of more of a sit-back approach, because I want to see when Colin McHugh comes back, like, what type of pitcher he is, because if you have Keuchel, McCullers, McHugh, and either a Charlie Morton or Joe Musgrove, I think that's solid enough. I mean, granted, you would take another top of the line starter, but I don't want to mortgage the future for that either. And you have that prospect.
Even better is like you could find someone else to help fill in another place on your team. I mean, like at the end of the day, prospects are basically just it's money. They're just like money. So I mean, like you can. Not to like objectify them, but I mean like you can use that to help fill out the rest of that team. But I mean like if they could get Jared Cole and if they really feel like they're in it to win it for, I mean like how long is like Jared Cole's contract? I feel it's like at least like 2 to 3 years.
Oh no, he's under team control for a while, and so that's why I would think Pittsburgh would want pretty much a lot, 2 or 3 are top prospects, and probably a major leaguer at least to get him.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, but like that's something you would hope like one of your prospects turns into, especially considering like how bad like Houston Astros were like prior and like how high they were drafting before. But you definitely you would like to make that trade for like Jarrett and just like have that 1-2 punch of like Keuchel and Cole, and then like you obviously have like for your third and fourth starters like McHugh and like McCullers, like that'd be insane. That'd be like you that would put you like squarely as like a front runner for the AL pennant.
Yeah.
But your guys are already kind of like front runners for that. I mean, it's just like I mean, again, obviously, like we're all just like waiting for like the other shoe to drop with Cleveland and Red Sox and have them turn it on real soon. And just hope you can like keep pace with them. So I mean, like it wouldn't be the worst idea to trade for someone like Garrett Cole, especially since like he's going to be under team control for so long. I mean, like specifically because of that, like you would have to give up a lot, and you just hope that like the rest of your team like fills out and like no one regresses going forward or anything like that, because you're going to start really just basically like only have like your major league team and like not much of a farm system after that. I mean, and yeah, that's the other thing too, is that like going back to that 2014 draft, man, like talk about like a change in fortunes. Like I mean, like the Rangers did worse than the Astros the season prior, like that like not 2014, like the 2014 season's draft. So that'd be in 2015. But like talk about change in fortunes with that one. I mean, like if the Astros hadn't refused to sign Brady Aiken, they wouldn't have drafted before the Rangers, and if they hadn't drafted before the Rangers, then they wouldn't have gotten Alex Bregman. And there's a possibility that he would have gone to the Rangers themselves, and they would have had someone. At least, it's like, I mean, granted, like they were already kind of filled at that like corner infield position, but I mean, like they would have found a spot for Alex Bregman. Trust me on that one. Like they wouldn't have I mean, obviously, like no offense to Dylan Tate, but like man, like that's a huge drop off right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think the one the Astros will regret for a long time is passing on Chris Bryant to take Mark Appel in 2013. Yeah. Because if you have Chris Bryant in this lineup, oh my goodness.
You guys would have, I mean, like, the Cubs would not have won last year. I mean, honestly, like, the Astros might have won the pennant last year had they drafted Chris Bryant. I mean, that's a big missed opportunity there, especially since they passed on Mark Appel before in the prior to get Carlos Correa, and they saw how good that went out. How good that was, and then like they still decided, you know what, like Mark Appel, he seems like a nice guy, I mean, like he refused to
Houston area
drafted him 8th overall, but like let's sign it, let's try it this time, Mark Appel, we made you wait 1 year, and we'll see how it goes, and he just injuries, and I don't know.
Yeah,
Chris Bryant. Well, if they drafted Chris Bryant, then they wouldn't have drafted Alex Bregman. But,
right.
Like, no offense to Bregman. Like,
I'll take that trade.
Yeah, and then like you could have taken guys could have taken Dylan Tate, and then we wouldn't have drafted. Then we could have drafted Alex Bregman. But yeah. No, I mean, like, yeah, this is a real good team.
Yeah.
Maybe they still take Alex Bregman anyway, just to have like the best infield ever, and just stick like Chris Bryant maybe at first. But yeah.
All right, let's move on to our shout-outs. First, shout-out to Mohamed Bamba.
He is a 5-star recruit that Spurn, I think, can...
He got him?
Yes.
Wow! Holy crap! Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, he released something on Players Tribune. Basically, the gist of the article on why he picked Texas was he mentioned the academics, like he wants to be in the business school, which, like, to me, he's a one and done, so that's... Yeah.
Baby.
I mean, but one and done, like, how much...
Thanks the combs, yes.
Also, his, like, relationship with... He really liked Shaka Smart, obviously. He saw, like, what he did with Jared Allen this year, and, like, how he improved throughout the year, and he said that, you know, he wants to be here and be part of building something at Texas again. So, yeah, that's it. Next year with him and Matt Coleman... And if you get Andrew Jones coming back, you know, withdrawing from the draft, then I think that's a pretty solid crew.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you hope so. I mean, obviously, like, I mean, the big question is just going to be like the 3 like now the 2 players that were sophomores, whether or not they can find something. I mean, goodness gracious,
Eric Davis.
Yeah, like that was disturbing. Seeing like how that core group of like people that started off as freshmen just completely like collapsed, and like now Tevin Mack's not even with the team anymore, even though he followed Shaka to Texas. But yeah, no, I mean, like, yeah, this I mean, like, that's amazing news. Yeah, definitely shout out to Mo Bamba. Thank you, Mo. we got more Mo, man. But yeah, I'm trying to think of something else. I mean, I guess shout out to Nashville because it looks like they're on the verge of going on to the Stanley Cup, and I think that's the first time they've ever gone there. So I mean, conceivably shout out in the past to something that could happen in the future. I don't know what the situation is with the Eastern Conference. I haven't been following that one that close, but I think it's pretty tight between the Senators and the Penguins. I hope the Sens beat the Pens. Just But I think of what else.
Yes, Si-Woon Kim, he won the Players' Championship. There's a picture of him. He flew home in the middle seat of coach. So shout out Si-Woon Kim. He won the Players, but still flying home like a regular person.
Exactly, yeah.
So I want you guys to visit our website, twnatesonsports.com. Also like us on Facebook at 2natesonsports. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play Music, where you'll get a notification as soon as we release our new episodes.
All right, Nathan, I will talk to you next week.
Yeah, talk to you then, man. Take care.